Of fake Amazon purchase and bank wire transfers. That's how a local family said scammers were able to steal more than $500,000 from them.
William and Abe Boards had been married for more than 55 years. They were both retired and living a routine shaped by decades of steady work and careful planning. Their days were quieter, structured around habits built over a lifetime. They expected their remaining years to be supported by savings they had accumulated slowly and deliberately. Much of that money came from a recent home sale and long-term retirement accounts. It was not excess wealth or speculative money. It was what they believed would carry them through the rest of their lives. They had grown accustomed to managing their finances carefully. They paid attention to bills, bank statements, and routine emails. They were not reckless or unfamiliar with everyday technology. Like many retirees, they relied on computers and online services for basic tasks. They believed those systems were part of normal modern life. The first disruption came in January of the previous year. It arrived in the form of an email that appeared to be from Amazon. The message claimed that a purchase of roughly $1,500 had been made and was being shipped to another address. The email looked ordinary and professional. It included a customer service phone number. Nothing about it immediately suggested fraud. The amount was large enough to be concerning, but small enough to feel plausible. William believed it could be a mistake or an error that needed to be corrected quickly. He did what many customers are conditioned to do. He called the number listed in the message to resolve the issue. The person who answered spoke calmly and professionally. They presented themselves as an Amazon representative. They said the charge could be reversed. They said the situation required verification through the computer system. They asked William to allow remote access to his computer. This request did not feel unusual to the couple. They had prior experience with remote technical help. Their daughter later explained,
"My husband had always fixed it from San Diego to LA, so he was used to seeing his computer remote access."
That her husband often helped them remotely with computer problems. Because of that familiarity, granting access did not immediately raise concern. It felt like a routine extension of customer service. Once access was granted, the situation began to change quietly. The person on the phone took control of the screen. A web page appeared that looked like an Amazon interface. It displayed a large transaction amount. Instead of the original figure, the screen now showed $200,000. The caller told William that a mistake had occurred. They said the system had accidentally credited or processed the wrong amount. They framed it as an internal error that needed to be corrected quickly. They said the money now appeared to have been sent and needed to be recovered. They emphasized that delay would create serious problems. At this point, the framing shifted. The issue was no longer about stopping a charge. It became about fixing a mistake that had already happened. William believed that money had already moved. He believed he was responsible for helping reverse it. The caller explained that in order to synchronize the refund system, additional steps were required. They said a wire transfer was necessary to align the accounts. They described this as a technical recovery process. They did not present it as payment. They described it as a temporary measure to restore balance. The language used avoided direct requests for money. Instead, it emphasized procedure and urgency. The caller said the refund system could fail if action was not taken immediately. They warned of consequences if the issue remained unresolved. The tone remained persistent and authoritative. Calls began coming repeatedly. They started early in the morning and continued late into the evening. The pressure was constant. Each call reinforced the same message. Something had gone wrong and it had to be fixed quickly. William did not believe he was sending money to a stranger. He believed he was following instructions to correct an error. He believed inaction would make the situation worse. The urgency created a sense that delay itself was dangerous. He went to a Chase Bank branch to complete the first wire transfer. He had never wired money to a foreign country before. At the bank, he was coached on what to say. The callers instructed him to describe the transfer in neutral terms. They told him how to answer questions if asked. Over the next 8 days, he went to 2 different Chase branches. He made multiple wire transfers. In total, there were 4 visits. funds. Each time, the destination was overseas. The funds were sent to locations in Hong Kong and China. The total amount transferred reached $690,500. The money represented a large portion of their retirement savings. Each transaction followed the same pattern. Instructions were given by phone. Reassurance followed immediately after each step. Throughout this period, William believed he was participating in a recovery process. He believed the money was temporarily moving in order to fix an internal error. He did not believe he was being robbed. He believed compliance was the safest option. At no point did the callers present themselves as criminals. They presented themselves as problem solvers. They spoke in technical language. They framed each step as necessary. They maintained pressure through repetition and urgency. Eventually, the reality became unavoidable. The transfers could not be reversed. The money was gone. The contact stopped. The explanations ended. When the truth became clear, the emotional impact was immediate. William later said he felt violated. The word was repeated more than once. There was disbelief that something so devastating could happen so quietly. There was shame in realizing how thoroughly trust had been manipulated. The couple began contacting institutions for help. They reported what had happened. They sought explanations. They asked whether anything could be recovered. Their investment company responded differently. According to the family, that institution was able to reimburse funds tied to compromised retirement accounts. The recovery there stood in contrast to what happened next. Chase Bank did not reimburse the wired funds. The bank's position was that the transactions were authorized. They stated that William had initiated the wires himself. They said this meant the bank was not responsible for the loss. William believed the bank should have done more. He believed the pattern of transactions should have raised concern. He believed the amount and frequency were unusual for him. He believed additional questions should have been asked. He said that instead of warnings, he was asked something else. He said he was asked whether he would consider private banking services. The timing of that question stayed with him. The family filed a lawsuit against Chase. The complaint alleged financial elder abuse. It also alleged unfair business practices. The filing cited state welfare and institutions law. That law states that a party may be liable if it knew or should have known that its conduct was harmful to an elder adult. The lawsuit argued that the bank should have recognized warning signs. It argued that the repeated wires and foreign destinations were indicators. It argued that intervention was possible. The case was dismissed at one stage. It is currently in the appeals process. The legal questions remain unresolved. An attorney familiar with elder abuse law, though not involved in the case, explained the broader issue. He said courts are divided on how to interpret these statutes. Some courts hold that banks can be liable if they should have known harm was occurring. Other courts require proof of actual knowledge. This difference creates uncertainty. The legal landscape remains unsettled. There is no uniform standard across jurisdictions. Cases like this continue to test the boundaries of responsibility. Chase responded through a spokesperson. The statement said that while customers may dispute transactions, federal court had already dismissed the claim twice. The spokesperson added that consumers should always be suspicious when someone they do not know asks them to urgently send money. Links to fraud prevention resources were provided. For the family, those statements offered little comfort. They say reports were filed with multiple agencies. These included local law enforcement and the FBI. The process has been slow. The outcome remains uncertain. The loss has not been restored. The money they worked decades to save is gone. The impact extends beyond finances. Trust in systems meant to protect them has been shaken. They describe a sense of being unguarded at the moment protection was most needed. They describe confusion over where responsibility begins and ends. They describe a feeling of standing alone after following instructions they believed were legitimate. The scam did not rely on force. It relied on familiarity. It relied on structure and procedure. It relied on the assumption that official systems function as they appear. What remains is not only a financial deficit. It is a lasting sense of uncertainty. It is a question about safeguards that failed to intervene. It is a question about how ordinary people are expected to navigate increasingly complex fraud. The couple continues to live with the consequences. Their retirement plans have been altered. Their sense of security has been disrupted. They describe the loss as permanent. The case leaves unresolved questions about accountability. It highlights the gap between technical authorization and meaningful consent. It shows how easily trust can be redirected. For William and Abe boards, the damage is already done. The money cannot be recovered through simple means. The experience has reshaped how they view institutions and protections. What remains is the record of what happened, a sequence of ordinary steps that led to extraordinary loss, a system that moved efficiently until it no longer did, and a quiet aftermath in which answers are still being sought.